Are you ready? The Kornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Kornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Kornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you this morning. I have a few of our beloved founding members of the KS Media Group app with us this morning, and we're going to go straight into a podcast. You are also inside the beloved 10-minute experience. And I want to let you know that for the rest of the month, you have the opportunity to meet people like the ones that you're going to hear from in this podcast exclusively in the app. All you have to do is download the KS Media Group app, take a look on the home page and look at the schedule, and you'll see that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, there are sessions that are recorded live for 10 minutes that are here to support you to live your best life. I'm Kornelia Stephanie. I'm the host of this podcast, and I'm also the founder of the KS Media Group app. And I'm so excited to do this podcast today, which is inspired by Peggy Bell, which is one of our founding members. So Peggy, she sent out a newsletter this morning. I had several topics. I usually don't make up my mind until like last minute, like this is what I want to do right now. This is what's in alignment. And so then when I saw her newsletter, I said, this is the topic. It was so great because Peggy was talking about how recently her emotions were triggered. Her mom, she called it her mom emotions were triggered by the storm, the hurricane in Florida, and how she was in crisis, right? Because there was a crisis because her daughter lived there. And so many of us are finding ourselves in crisis, whether it's in a health crisis, which I was recently in, and I'm currently still in, and also looking at how I have to reframe my thoughts and reframe my thinking and look at what my body is communicating to me. And how sometimes, no matter what crisis we find ourselves in, even though we are the coaches, we're the event speakers, we're the trainers, we're the healers, we can find ourselves like going down that rabbit hole. And next thing you know, we get stuck. So I want to do a round robin today with the group that's here. And basically the question is, when there is a crisis or emergency of some sort that you are involved in or have been involved in, how do you shift and reframe your thoughts? And so I'm going to start with Peggy. Peggy, why don't you share this morning what happened when you realized that, well, you also had a friend reminding you. And sometimes we need that. We need that reminder of something that we already know. So tell us about what happened.
Okay, it was I believe it was 2 days before the storm, and my daughter lives in Tampa. So at the time it was going to be a direct hit, or so they thought. So even though I teach about reframing your thoughts, and I do this all the time, I went into mom mode because she was by herself, and just the thought of her, having such a devastating impact, being alone out there was really bothersome. So I happened to get on the Tuesday episode, and Susan, I think, is not on here, but I was telling her about it, and she said, your thoughts are going to, interfere with you. You have to think about what you're thinking about. And immediately it put me back to reframing my thoughts. And Susan, I'm speaking about you. Um, and so she was just a reminder to me what I had to remind myself. And like you said, it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole sometimes when you're in a state of crisis. But you have to reframe your thoughts, because what you think about sometimes it will come to fruition. So you are your thoughts, and you have to reframe your thoughts. And because she held me accountable, I immediately started reframing, because I was used to doing that. And so I was able to do that quickly. And I just felt a sense of peace. And I knew that, I stayed with her throughout the hurricane, talking back and forth, and everything was fine.
And the other thing that you said in your newsletter is that once you reframed your thoughts, you then became you got a lot more done. You were
Yes.
much more productive. You were more, on point rather than in fear and in worry. And, in the Thursday sessions, we are talking about our prophecy. Very, we are what we think. And
Mhm.
so when we put fear and worry into our experience, that is what it is that we're going to create. So I think it's wonderful that you ended up on Susan's session, and
Mhm.
or she, yeah, it must have been on Susan's session,
Yes.
and that you guys talked about this, and that she was able to, I call this like a lifeline.
Yes.
I call it a lifeline, throw you a lifeline and just basically pull you right back out so that you don't go down that rabbit hole, and you were able to see and reframe. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up today is because we are the world's best leading influencers and practitioners in the world. We help people, live their best lives. We help people, you know, with what Mr. J is offering. He is helping people release betrayal. Susan is helping women become more confident and rise into their greatest self. Dr. Lubin is helping people in many ways with her wisdom circles, with her physical exercise. And right. And then there is Peggy Bell, which with your talks, with your event talks, and all the things that you're doing now with the new prison uh, population that you are serving, it goes to show you that it gets the best of us. Dr. Bob is helping with conscious parenting, helping teach parents to be conscious of how they're raising their children. I think that now more than ever, we need us. And so when we are in crises, and when we find ourselves in distress, how quickly we can reframe our thoughts. And that's why I wanted to have this discussion today. Who here would like to share a time when they were in crises, and what they did to reframe that event, and what they did to pull themselves out? Please, Mr. J.
I'll just say this. Listen, I have ADHD and I'm half Italian and half Irish. So I'm always in crises internally or elsewise. But a couple of things I want to say. What happens to us is not so much important as to what we assign to it. Because think about it. If it rains one day, the beachgoer is going to say, what a sucky day. But the gardener is going to say, what a beautiful day. Just like the Titanic. Some people say, wow, that was really sucky. The Titanic went down. But do you know who was happy? The lobsters that were on the Titanic that otherwise would have gotten eaten. So I think, sometimes when I'm going through crises, I'll just, I get excited, honestly, and I'll say, "Oh God, I'm kind of excited to see what you're going to do with this one." And then I just wait and see what he reveals. So nothing specific, but more of a overall situation.
Yeah, I think that's really good. It's nice to be in that energy of excitement, to see what God's going to do, what the universe is going to do. How is this going to play out when you're surrendered and like, okay, I have no idea what's going to happen here, and what we're going to do. It's this is a technique, and it's a strategy. It's something that obviously that's working for you. And I can also relate to what Peggy is saying, because when your daughter is involved, when there's a storm and you're like completely not in control and you're emotionally attached, it's a thing. Just like even with what I've experienced recently in my health crisis. And I discovered that what I think really does affect how I feel. Because again, what we think, our bodies respond to the thoughts that we think. So it's really, really important to know that when you're in crises, or when you've been in crises, of how you're going to get out of it, how you're going to reframe. So it's great, Mr. J, that you have this technique and that this is working for you. How about you, Dr. Lubin? What can you say to this situation?
Well, I'll give like 3 different examples of when the pandemic hit. That to me was a little bit of a crisis. And the first thing that I thought of was health, 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 mental health, physical health, spiritual health, emotional health, like all the ways that we look at health. So for me, what I did was that's how I started the Exercise for Health community.
Okay.
That was a big one. And so exercise has become so important, because when I exercise, I am finding that my mental health is better, everything across the board feels better. And then the other is journaling. And I've been journaling for quite a while, but that has really helped me stay accountable to how I'm feeling and really connecting with myself. And there's another process that I use called companioning. And that is not meditation, but it's a process of really being with myself and, putting my hand over my heart and just asking, what is it that's going on? And very powerful. So those 3 things have really saved me in these last 3 years.
Those are really, really good tips. It's really all about how we respond to the events that we're faced, that the situation, the crises, or whatever, whether you've lost a job, or there's a storm, or like with the pandemic. I know a lot of people felt that way. So I think having those techniques to know that when a crisis hits, this is how, these are the things that you can do, whether it is what Peggy was talking about, reframing her thoughts, or Mr. J talking about, I'm curious, I'm excited to see what you're going to do with this one. I just, that's kind of fun, to do that. And then of course, I love the journaling, because I've got journals everywhere. So this is a way to listen to the heart, to listen to the soul. And I love that very much. What about you, Susan? What can you share about a time when you were in crises, and unless you haven't been?
Oh, that's a funny thing, Cornelia. For me, I love this group, the KS Media Group. I love your leadership, because you create a safe vessel, even in this public podcast, for us to share our own authentic humanity. So recently, I have been in emotional difficulty. It's hard for me to say crisis now, Cornelia, because I've reframed crisis to life. And but I will say I have been crying on an awful lot for personal reasons. And all these tools, Peggy, thank you so much. The reframe tool, creating the thoughts that you want to think, what if positive, as I call it, have supported me in my own personal difficulty. And the thing that breaks that crisis point, that trauma point, the point of, traumatic engagement for me is learning about my breath. So at that moment, I'm crying, honestly. And then I have permission to cry. I get we want to feel emotional processing. I learned in your book, Kornelia, Peace, the flip side to anger. We don't suppress, we emote, we allow, we acknowledge, we claim. Still in all, if you go on and on in that way, then you begin to go down onto the negative side of the feeling scale, into, the sadness and sorrow and grief and even depression. So at some point, I catch my breath with intention. And then I have that block, that break. And then I can be like, even when Peggy and I were having that conversation, I could feel the energy of worry and concern. I could feel it in myself. And then I can say, all right, I'm in charge, Kornelia. I'm in charge of me. And then if I'm in charge, then I can lift a weight, Karin. I do that too. I can look at it with curiosity. I can reframe my thoughts. I can ask my questions like Dr. Bob does of us. And so that really has been supporting me myself during a little bit of an emotional, or, I have to be honest, a big emotional time for me.
Yeah, I think, this time period that we're in our collective evolution right now, with all the changes that are happening on the planet globally, not only in our community, in our communities, but all the changes, there's so much that's happening that, there is inflammation. I feel like it's inflamed. Which is an interesting thing, because that has been something that's been going on with my heart. So I thought that was so interesting when I just made that realization within the last 36 hours that, wow, the inflammation around the heart, which is actually, for those people that are out there that know about the chakra system, the heart is the new root. We have, the root chakra is the base chakra. It's the first chakra. It's the base that we sit on. It is also our sustainability and feeling sustainable, feeling supported, feeling rooted. But the heart chakra now is actually our new root, because our chakra system is changing. And so feeling this inflammation out in the world, but also feeling the inflammation around my heart, there was some fluid that was building up around my heart. And I was asking the question in the journal. I was asking the question, why am I making this water here? Why am I making this water, this emotion around my heart? Because my heart is obviously trying to get my attention. My heart is trying to get my attention. So there's something that is inflamed here that I'm not looking at, that I'm not seeing. So when I look at the world and I look at all the things that are happening, there's just a lot of inflammation going on outside, but also must be going on inside of me, because it's there and it's affecting me. And so my body is communicating to me. And so as soon as I made these realizations, the inflammation went down. The inflammation went down. And as soon as I started communicating here with the heart, that was what the message was. What's going on here? What are you trying to show me? What are you trying to say to me? So I'm still in it, and I'm still in discovery around it. And I feel very, very hopeful about what's next. But I just want to say that in crises, in inflammation, in all the changes that we're facing as a global community, we're all looking at, what does our heart really want? How do we feel safe? How do we feel loved? How do we respond to the events around us? what's the number one important thing? I always say our health is in our wealth is in our health. And so it's very, very important. But I just want to talk to Dr. Bob now, because we haven't heard from you. What about your thoughts? Have you been in a crisis, and how do you respond to when you're faced with a crisis?
My life has been a perfect utopia, so I've never had a crisis. No, I'm sort of like Mr. J. I is trying to answer. I was glad I was last because I was trying to figure out how to answer this question. Because the honest answer is I don't have a specific way of dealing with it. I have been in so many different crises, internal and external. As a healthcare professional of taking care of children, I've seen too many children die under my care for a variety of reasons, be that infection, be that some chronic disease, be that cancer, be that leukemia. And I think back to when my oldest child was born 44 years ago. The night before he was born, I was in the hospital all night long, taking care of a child that ended up dying with leukemia. And then 16 hours later, my child was born. I mean, what a dichotomy, and I think for me, whether this is right or wrong, I have been able to compartmentalize, to deal with the issue at hand, and not let it overwhelm me as best I could, and then deal with the issues later on, but not ignoring them. And I've had acute crises in my personal life in terms of with divorce, in terms of chronic crisis with a professional problem that lingered over a decade, and still continued. And just the other day, I'm retired, but just the other day I got a call from my colleague who said, "You remember patient so and so?" And I said, "Oh yeah, how's she doing?" "Well, she died." And it was just a tragic, unfortunate series of events, and that was just I was just couldn't do anything for the rest of the day. So I didn't compartmentalize it in terms of putting it away.
Right.
I dealt with it at the time just with the issues I have. I don't know that I call it journaling, but I do now. Over the last 30 years, have been looking at so many of the different issues that I've had. I've been trying to, and I don't journal per se at the time. I think the emotions just sort of swim around, and then they just come forward, and I write and do things like that. But I think my adult ADHD, the thoughts just sort of swim around. But fortunately for me, they're not in conflict. And I'm able to move on by and large without significant issues, though I still have times when when we're driving around and I'm telling my wife something and she said, "You don't seem to be practicing what you preach." And so I still have that external comeuppance that I get and I need. But I rambled in my response because I think my brain just rambles and gets me through it without a specific stopping and doing something consciously.
I love what you shared, and the rambling, is more of a, again, it's like leaving the mind, putting the mind aside, and just really speaking from your true self. That's, that might seem like it's rambling, but that's what I think that you just did here. And I just want to acknowledge you for being so authentic and so open and so, vulnerable with us here in this podcast, but also Mr. J. I just want to, what's a good word for saying that? I want to honor. That's a good word. Honor is a good word. I want to honor you, the men, for being in your emotion and being so open and, transparent. and also in your masculinity. And so I recognize that, and I just want to acknowledge you and honor you for that. So thank you. Mr. J, did you want to say something? Because I saw you were muting, unmuting. Did you want to say something about what Dr. Bob was saying? No. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to let the audience know where they can find you in the app. So why don't we start with you, Peggy? And I just want to say too, in Peggy's newsletter, she used the words, practice what you preach. She used those words. Those were in there. And you just said those words, Dr. Bob, practice what you preach. You know, your wife was saying that. So that newsletter inspired this podcast today. So I just want to say, now, Peggy, let's tell the audience what you do and how they can find you in the app.
I'm an event speaker, and I work with charitable organizations to help them make a bigger impact in their communities. I'm also an author and a coach. And you can find me in the app on Mondays at 12 Central Time, and the time zones are listed, the different time zones. But my episode is called Stuck to Unstoppable, and it's based on the international bestseller that I wrote earlier this year. Just trying to live a more fulfilled, more joy-filled life.
And I just want to say that all of the speakers that you're going to hear, that you heard of here today, you can find them inside the KS Media Group app under the directories tab. Just type their name in on the top search bar, Peggy Bell, and Peggy's going to come up, and you're going to be able to access her links and what it is that she offers within the group as well. What about you, Dr. Lubin? What is it that you're doing? Helping people, and how can people find you in the app?
Thank you, Kornelia. So my name is Karin Lubin. I am your well-being coach, and what I want to do is to be of service. So I inspire transformation through love in all aspects of your well-being. So right now, what I would like to offer and just suggest is to look at your health and your physical body well-being, so that you can strengthen and tone yourself to the point where you are just feeling better. Okay, wherever you are, you're going to feel better. So if you would like to join me for 10 minutes on Tuesdays, and there's the times that you can take a look at. It's focused exercise. I look at one muscle group every week, and I would love to support you in feeling better.
Yay. And also you can find Dr. Lubin, Dr. Karin Lubin, under the directories in the app as well. She also has an online exercise program that you can join from anywhere in the world. So if you like working out, and if you want to work out at home and being part of a community that meets consistently Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, that is a wonderful way to get fit and get healthy. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for offering that. Yes. How about you, Mr. J? What is it that we see that you are the betrayal trauma practitioner? Tell us a little bit more about what you do and how people can find you.
So basically, everybody has trauma, little t or big T. Everybody endures betrayal in their life, little b or big T, little b. But betrayal trauma is a world of its own on so many ways, because betrayal trauma is from a primary attachment, somebody that you're reliant upon for something. So it has a whole different society. It's also a secret society. If we go through some type of trauma with our personal lives, or say losing a family or a friend or a loved ones, we have no problem telling people, and we get the sympathy, and we get the, bereavement days off. We can't really go to our job and say, I need some broken trust time off. They don't offer that. It's a secret society. If we do want to tell our boss, why we need time off, that comes with maybe some shame, some guilt, some embarrassment. We also don't want to tell friends and family because we don't know what they're going to say. And if we do tell friends and family and then we want to reconcile or rebuild, now we have to fight friends and family who are calling us stupid. So betrayal trauma is a life of its own. And basically, I just try to help people help themselves move through the stages and phases of betrayal trauma, understanding betrayal trauma, what it does to our mind, body, soul, life around us. And of course, I can be found on the app as well. Thank you.
Right. Yes. And when you look and find Mr. J on the app, you also, I think there's a link in the directories when you look at Mr. J's info, where it takes you to his wonderful YouTube channel. And when you're there, subscribe to his YouTube channel because he puts out some short, amazing videos that are really supportive and very inspiring. So yay for that. Okay, Dr. Bob, I don't know what happened to our beloved Susan, but I will plug her in just a minute. How about you? What is it that you're doing to help people today? And also, how can people find you in the app?
I'm in the app. I have a multi-pronged approach to what I'd like to think and I'm doing. One of my primary focuses in the app is what I call conscious parenting, an issue talking about trying to raise the awareness of how parents conscious, how they understand what they are in the process and where their children are in the process. But as I look at that, that has evolved from a series of work that I've done over the last 30 years. And I'd like to think that my community advocacy, my children's advocacy, and my parental advocacy is sort of me as saging instead of aging. I want to be an elder instead of elderly. And I recognize that I will lose some physical capabilities as I get older, and I will lose some mental capabilities as I get older. But I still want to be promoting the 5 M's. I want to be a mentor. I want to be a mediator. I want to be a motivator. I want to be a mobilizer, and I want to be a monitor. And I want to do that to the best of my ability. So in addition to the work I've done through the app, I also have a blog on my website, and I send out a newsletter weekly. And so those things are much broader than just conscious parenting, just sort of me speaking to the world, hopefully with a message that has some meaning going forward.
I love that. Dr. Bob, what was the first thing that you said about what you want to be? Do you remember? I mean, because you said a lot of things. So what was the first ones you said?
I want to be saging instead of aging. I want to have sage advice that makes some sense. I want to be an elder in the community instead of elderly. And I think because of the Industrial Revolution, because of the technological revolution, people that have become older and used to be sort of the wise elders in the community are sort of cast more aside than they used to be, because now people don't have to look to them. They can Google it. And so we have lost track of people, hopefully such as myself, and if I have a message of some benefit, to provide that to the community.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful that you're in our community and that you're here. And I love the contributions and what it is that you're helping us with, and in our evolution with conscious parenting, and just all the wonderful ways that you are helping us to live our lives to be better. So thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say to everybody, go to the KS Media Group app, and they're in the directories, which is going to be right there. You're going to click on directories, and then you're going to see your influencer on the top there. Click there, and then just type in Dr. Bob's name or Mr. J's name right there, Peggy Bell, and type their names in, and then you're going to be able to access them and have all their websites, YouTube channels, everything is going to be there. I want to say Susan Axelrod, she was here earlier, something happened, she left. And so I want to plug Susan by, Susan is a wonderful contributor in the KS Media Group. And also she does a lot of work for women's empowerment. She helps women of all ages really to gain confidence and rise into their best selves. And so for, again, finding Susan, you're going to go to the directories, type in Susan Axelrod, and you're going to find all the ways that you can connect with her, especially on Tuesdays when she offers the Confidence Zone right there in the app. So, and what is it that I do? Well, how do I help people? Well, I help people in a lot of ways. And one of the ways that I love helping people is to shine the light on them. That is really to help them, shine and bring out their best self. And I do this here in the KS Media Group all the time. I do it on my podcasts, which are, shared on the Transformation Talk Radio website, but also on all the podcasts where you can find podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. So I do that there, but then I also do business coaching and I also do spiritual mentorship. So you can find me in the KS Media Group app, and you can look right there under my name and check out all the ways that you can grow together with me, and we can support each other in building our new world. And that's what this is all about. So I want to thank you today for coming on and doing this fabulous podcast with us on how do we deal when we're faced in crisis, with a crisis, and how do we remind ourselves that we're in charge and that we let go and that we can reframe, or that we're curious about what God's going to do next. And so I really, really love that. Thank you so much for joining us today, everyone. Thank you. Good. Okay. And we'll see you again next time on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. Thank you so much. Take care.
You've been listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio. Kornelia's joy is to engage others in practical ways, showing us how to live in the new earth in harmony with our true nature. For more information on Kornelia and her extraordinary work, or to listen to past shows, go to her website at korneliastephanie.com.